Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. I promise when we scheduled this, we had no idea the weather outside was going to be this beautiful. So it's usually not this time of year. Thank you for showing up anyways. This is going to be posted on our website also. So if you know someone that couldn't make it, please let them know. They can watch it. We do have a big track meet tonight, so I know we have some track parents that couldn't make it and kids. So welcome 8th grade students and parents. We are so happy to have you here. I just talked to some of our kids in the play and said, what do you want the 8th grade kids to know? And they said, let them know that you get a lot more freedom up here at the high school. So that's nice, you're on your own a little bit more. And they said, let them know that they can trust people in the office if they need something. So ask for help if they need it. And they specifically mentioned Mrs. Zukowski. So she's here tonight. And we are people that you can come to if you need anything. So we're excited to have you. We're always excited to see this next group we get to spend 4 years with. So I'm Mrs. Nine. I'm the principal of the building. And this is Mrs. Zukowski, one of our counselors. She's going to go over what we're going to do tonight.
So today, or tonight, we are first and foremost just going to identify some important people who you may need to contact over the next 4 years. Second piece is going to just be talking about a few of the transitions that we will kind of encounter as we move from middle school to high school. We're going to talk a little bit about credits and some academic practices that we have at the high school that kind of changed from middle school to high school. And then also a few of your graduation requirements, specifically mostly box 1 and box 2 are what we're going to talk about today. You've also probably gotten, if you get the Sky Alert text, I know middle school has been really good about sending the links for a lot of the videos that we've had for our 8th grade series this week. So anything that, I'm going to kind of briefly go over those today, but if you want a more in-depth or a more thorough discussion of those two things, definitely look at those videos. They're going to highlight a lot of that stuff today.
So we'll start with some of our introductions, one of the most important people in our building, Mr. Skimmerhorn. He is our athletic director. He has been here for quite a while. One of the nicest guys in the building too. We do want you to get involved as much as possible. One of the ways to get involved is sports. We want to remind you we're going to semesters next year. Their students will have the option of taking up to 7 classes. They have to pass 5 to be eligible for sports. So he always likes us to make sure we remind parents of that. That's even if you take a study hall. So even if you're in just 6 classes, you have to be passing 5. That's a D- or higher to participate. There's the website for the athletic information for the high school, and physicals for you 8th graders are going to be at the middle school on May 16th during the day from 9 to 3. So I think they send the forms home that need to be signed, but that's when you can get them. I think it's free, so it's your best opportunity, and if they get them now, they go through the fall, and you don't have to get it again for a while. So that's a great opportunity at the school. Our attendance is Mrs. Schroeder. Her office is right down front where you walked in, so if you ever check in or check out, you'll be down there. School website is where we have links for all of these things, and we do have an attendance link with a lot of the information. Mrs. Terry is in our main office, and she is our treasurer. So if you have a question about curricular materials, your fees, lunch money, class dues, she's the lady that you would contact. Mrs. Contreras is our main office secretary. She does scheduling appointments with us, the administrators, general student questions, information she'll answer, our high school calendar, and again, there's a link to that website. Mrs. Flecker is the guidance secretary, so she would be on your left. Guidance is on the left and the main office is on the right. So she schedules any counselor appointments. She's in charge of transcripts when you guys get a little older and you need those, report cards, the quarterly newsletter. She sends the grades home. And again, there's a link there for the guidance department. Okay, a little bit about transitioning from middle school to high school.
Mrs. Nine kind of hinted at this, but we are moving to semesters next year. And I know I'm jumping ahead, but I kind of wanted to touch on that first because that's one of the biggest changes that's going to be happening for our 8th grade students. So when we move basically on trimesters, you're doing 12-week grading periods 3 times a year. As we move to semesters next year, we will have 2 grading period semesters that will be broken up. It's going to be 18 weeks long per semester, but they're broken up into 9-week quarters. So that's kind of one of the biggest changes that will happen in terms of moving from trimesters to semesters for students. The second biggest piece is that in middle school, when you earn a grade, it doesn't matter as much as if you pass the class or not. The big thing about moving to high school is that if you don't pass the class, you have to retake it. You earn credits to go to the classes that you're going to be taking. So grades really do start to matter once you get into high school because every class you take earns you a certain grade. Every grade that you get will earn you a credit, which is going to work towards what we're going to talk about in a second in talking about box 1, which is your diploma type. Every diploma needs at least 40 credits in order to earn the full diploma. So it's very important that you're doing your very best to earn good grades, whatever that standing is for you as a student, to make sure you're earning the credits that you can get towards graduation. We're going to talk about some of the specifics with diploma types in a second, but students need at least a D- on the Core 40 diploma to earn the credit for the class. So Mrs. Nine kind of touched with that a second ago talking about sports and things, but you also need to earn that in order to earn the credit for the class.
We always get questions from freshmen of how many credits are in class. It's 1 each. And then again, that question of what's passing, and that's that D- or 60%. A few other questions they want to know right away are some of the major discipline rules. And we aren't much different from the middle school, really. And with the exception of the cell phone policy, because I didn't have them when I was here, they really haven't changed much since those of us that went here were here. The cell phone is usually one of our biggest issues. It is not allowed in class. You can have them during passing periods, you can have them at lunch, and that is it. So our policy up here is if it's taken from a teacher in class the first time, a parent has to come in and pick it up and sign for it. The second time, the office keeps it for 3 weeks. I don't know if you guys can survive without it for 3 weeks, so think about that. It's not easy, I've heard. So parents, we'd like to make you aware of that. We rarely get kids who get it taken the second time because of that, but it happens every once in a while, so we want to make you aware. Skipping class, we don't have very often. We use an electronic hall pass system so that we know where all kids are in the building at all times. And that has really cut down on skipping and really a lot of other things. It works really well, but we have it every once in a while with freshmen because, again, you have a little bit more freedom, and sometimes they try to take advantage of that, and it just doesn't work. So you do need to be in your supervised area at all times with the teacher you're assigned to. And I would say with freshmen, we run into it a little bit. Dress code, we have the exact same dress code as the middle school. No midriff is a big one. I mean, that's probably the biggest that we have a problem with. We should not see your belly. Mr. Wilson, our assistant principal, likes to say, if you don't want to see my belly, then I don't want to see your belly. We don't want him wearing, like, his midriff showing. So we stay very consistent with them as much as we can, but those are some of them that we do have trouble sometimes with the freshmen with. So back to some of those required classes.
So most freshmen are going to be taking the classes that I have up here. Your first one is going to be English. Every single year of high school, we'll go through that in a second, but every year, every student is going to be taking 2 credits in English. So that's a requirement. You'll have English 9A and 9B, or some of you may have honors English 9A and 9B. All students will take health for one credit, and they'll take prep CC for 1 credit, which is college and careers. You'll have 2 semesters of physical education. We always have a math almost every year. We'll go over that again in a second, but all freshmen will start out in either Algebra 1A and B or Honors Algebra 1A and B. All students will take a science class. This one looks slightly different depending on the academic status. So most students will typically take environmental science A and B. Some students may take honors biology A and B. And then you'll have a couple of options for your electives during freshman year. And we're going to go more in depth with this, students, when we start to schedule with you on Friday. So students will have the opportunity to kind of look at their elective options. They're actually going to watch a video on all of our elective options that they have. And then we'll have them be able to select those courses that are available. If you're curious as to what electives we have, there's a link under our guidance department to all of our courses that we offer. It's very exhaustive, so I did not want to put it up here. We would be up here for the next hour if we were reading it. So, but another thing I want to mention on here is the Spanish is a typical route a lot of students take as an elective, because if they decide to move to an academic honor diploma, that is a requirement that's there. So if you have a student that's pondering whether or not they might do a Core 40, or if they're planning to go to an honors at some point, questioning whether they're going to go to an honors diploma, that would be something that they would want to start in freshman year. So just to think about. So like I said when we started, we're going to talk about, just mostly today we're going to talk about Box 1 and Box 2. The state of Indiana has 3 graduation requirements that all students are required to meet before they get their diploma and walk out our doors. Box 1, it talks about the diploma type, so we'll get into that. Box 2 is going to be learning and demonstrating employability skills. So if we think about skills that are going to prepare them for being an employee one day. Box 3 is going to talk about completing a pathway for success after high school. So thinking about whether that's going directly into the workforce, whether it's going off to college, and making sure that they're going to be successful for that. But we're not going to focus on that one today. So Box 1 is up first. There are 3 main types of diplomas that all of our 8th grade students have the option to select. The main one that I want to focus the most attention on today is the Core 40. You also have a Core 40 with academic honors and a Core 40 with technical honors. So the Core 40, as we mentioned earlier, you have to get a D- or higher to earn credits for this diploma type. As it states in the name, a Core 40, you earn 40 credits. So that's 40 total. How do we get to that number? We have 8 English credits, so if you do the math, that adds up to 2 English every year of high school. You have 6 math credits, which means you're in 3 years of math courses for most. 6 years of science, which is again 3 years. 6 years of social studies. 2 PE that they're going to primarily, most of them will knock out as a freshman. That health credit that I talked about that most will take next year. Personal finance, and 10 elective credits that are going to kind of be geared towards that Box 3 that I was hinting about in their area of interest that they want to pursue things in. So a lot of parents always ask me, and even students, what is a Core 40 good for? Or can I go to college with a Core 40 diploma? And my answer to them is always absolutely. This is a great diploma type for many students if you're choosing to go to a 2-year or a 4-year college. So whether that's Ivy Tech, Purdue, Fort Wayne, or Ball State, all of those colleges will gladly accept a Core 40 diploma. So it does not mean just because you didn't pursue an academic or a technical honor diploma does not mean you cannot go on to a 4-year or a 2-year college. The second piece that a Core 40 would prepare students for would be a vocational program or apprenticeship program. I have a couple examples listed up there, thinking about cosmetology, welding, HVAC, anything like that would be more of your vocational programs. So Core 40 is a great preparation for that. Also, if you're thinking of going into the military or even entering directly into the workforce after high school, Core 40 can be a great preparation tool to getting students to that area as well. So the Core 40 with academic honors. I will say this diploma, the biggest thing that a lot of hurdles we run into is getting a C or higher to earn the credits. And they have to have at least a B average to obtain a Core 40 diploma with academic honors. So that's kind of usually what ends up changing a lot of students from academic honors to a core 40 if they get a C minus or lower in one of their classes. Sometimes they don't want to retake the class in order to get that diploma. So that's kind of the biggest hurdle. We want to make sure students are setting themselves up for success and that they know what is expected of them right off the bat. Another change, you'll see the highlighted features I have on this slide are going to kind of highlight the differences between a core 40 and the added courses to get academic honors. The first one on there being 8 math credits. So from the core 40, we only had 6. A core 40 with academic honors, we now have 8. So you'll see that's an additional year of math. Another difference is having 2 fine arts credits. So that could be anything from choir, music, applied music skills. There's a whole bunch of them that we have that would apply for that. But it's pretty easy, only 2 credits there, and a lot of students meet that in a core 40 anyways. Again, that second biggest difference is going to be the Spanish credit I was talking about. So if students are even pondering one day going to a core 40 with academic honors or sticking with it from the start, we want to make sure they get those Spanish credits in right away. It's 3 years of Spanish that you have to do for an academic honors diploma. The last piece I have on there is circled on the right, and that's 2 classes that they must take at the college level. So that's another thing, a little bit of a difference between a core 40 to an academic honors is going to be taking some of those dual credit classes. So students are going to need to take those.
So on semesters, they will be able, even with a study hall, to get 48 classes in. So if you look at this, let me know if I'm wrong, but most of our academic honors kids end up with more than 40, and so do all of our kids because they can fit 48 classes in. But some of those classes could be in those 10 electives, so that's even with the study hall. I know 8th graders, you don't technically have a study hall right now like you have your charger time. But for freshman year, we really think that that's a good idea as you're making that transition, and you can still get all of this done even with a study hall on this. We do, if you want to be in something like band all 4 years, even with academic honors, you might want to think about doing some summer courses, and you can even do that this summer. We'll have kids that maybe do online PE. I know parents, that sounds weird. My daughter did it, and it's more of like a physical, personal goal, fitness, and it was actually pretty good. Sometimes they'll do health or Prep CC, and then that opens up their schedule to be able to do something besides all of this, like band, and really they can do that every summer if they want to.
So same thing that I kind of had up there as far as what is an academic honors diploma good for? So academic honors is going to be the absolute best preparation if you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you want to go on to a 4-year school. It's going to be preparing you for the college level classes. It holds you to the expectations that are going to be expected of you at the college level. But another note I want to mention is students don't have to, I know at the first couple slides we talked about how you had honors biology or an honors algebra. You don't have to be in the honors program to select an academic honors diploma. So just because you're not taking honors courses doesn't mean you can't take an academic honor diploma, but it does mean your expectations are going to be higher. You have to get that C or above, and you have to make sure you're able to take those courses at the college level. So it means setting realistic expectations and making sure you have goals that are achievable for you. So if you plan on going on to a 6-year school or getting a master's degree to be a counselor or a nurse practitioner or a lawyer, whatever the case, or even onto a doctorate program, we want to make sure that we're setting you up for success and getting you to where you need to be. So if you know that you want to be a doctor, but you're getting a D+ in most of your classes, we want to make sure that there's not a gap there in understanding, but we also want to be able to prepare students to the best that they can be to achieve the goals and the careers that they want to obtain. So academic honors is going to be the best preparation if you know that you want to go on to a university and you want to complete a 4, 6, or an 8-year degree. And the last type that we're going to talk about, I'll do this one just a little bit more briefer. Same expectation as far as grade point average go. The technical honors diploma, the biggest difference for this one is you need to attend a vocational program at either our Pathways partners or our Impact Institute partners. So this is going to be a student traveling to another school for half the day to complete one of these programs where they'll earn a certification or dual credits that are going to qualify for the technical honors diploma. You'll see a couple things are missing off of this one. You're not required to take the Spanish, and you are not required to take the additional math or fine arts. However, you do still have to take 2 classes at the college level again at the high school. So we'll talk a little bit more about this as some of you might be asking, well, what is a vocational program? I don't understand. So students, like I said, they have the opportunity to possibly go to another school to learn more of an in-depth and more hands-on learning experience. It's a great opportunity for students who tend to struggle to sit at a desk for the entire school day and they have a hard time learning in that environment. Most of these experiences are going to be more work-based learning and an opportunity for students to really gain a more hands-on learning experience and prepare them for a specific career like welding or becoming a certified nursing assistant. A lot of those programs are going to be geared specifically towards one content area of interest that the student has, and they're going to earn degree certifications within that industry to really prepare them for entering the workforce right out of high school.
A student can get both an academic and a tech honors diploma. We have had kids do it. It's not easy because they have to fit in all the Spanish and all the vocational, but it can be done, and it's pretty cool when they do that. And they don't need to worry about vocational programs right now. They will choose a pathway or a vocational program really their sophomore year or even end of their sophomore year. So we just want to make sure they get their credits those first 2 years, and then they can qualify for a vocational program. Just briefly, there are some things in Skyward that you will see as, now they have a high school student that you didn't see in the middle school. They're not in there yet, but soon what you will see is their diploma type. So on the left there, you can see the instructions of how to get to it. You can see the courses they request. Again, that's not in there yet because they haven't met with the 8th graders yet, but that will pop up in there. So if you want to see what did my kids sign up for, and then call us and say, maybe we need to change that. You can see that in there. Okay, box 2 of the graduation requirements is employability skills. So as I mentioned, there are certain skills that the state of Indiana likes to see that students can meet to make sure that they're going to be successful after they graduate. There's 3 ways students can meet this requirement. The first is through a project-based learning experience. So we have some classes specifically in our school where they can take this class and it would qualify for that project-based learning. Another opportunity would be service-based learning. So this would be possibly participating in a sport, any sort of clubs or volunteering experience that they may have. It needs to be at least a semester, and we do kind of spend a whole day going over this in that 8th grade video series. So if you want a more in-depth on if you're stressing about how you're going to meet this requirement, we do spend a whole day talking about it. The last way to meet it is work-based learning. So a lot of our students have part-time jobs, whether that be at the fast food restaurants, at Walmart, or anywhere where they're working outside of school. They can earn actual credit for having a job outside of school, but it also will count for their box 2 employability skills as well. My last little pitch I want to give on this is Mrs. Knight will probably laugh at me for, but get your student involved, and students that are here, I want to tell you and encourage you, get involved when you get to high school. Some of the students that are so passionate, what they tell me about what do you wish you could have done that maybe you didn't do, and it's the first thing they always say to me is, I wish I would have participated in a club, or I wish I would have done the sport all 4 years that I was here. It's a great way to connect with others. And honestly, it will help your grades improve. It helps you feel better about yourself. It helps you feel more connected and more, you get to know other students that you haven't quite connected with. And I know in high school, it's really hard. You're comparing yourself to others a lot and kind of sizing yourself up to your students around you. And when you can get in touch with
other students and connect with, even some juniors or some sophomores and other grade levels that you haven't got to see in the last year. It really just helps them so much, and I hear nothing but good things. And honestly, the research in my field shows so much support for this, and I'm thankful that our state requires it, because I think it's really valuable to the students, and I wish they would do it all 4 years and not just for one semester. So again, like I've mentioned before, we have gone through a lot of this material already on our 8th grade videos, a little bit more in depth. So just make sure you're checking the links for those, following it on those middle school website. All of those links should be posted. If you have any more questions about box 1, box 2, or box 3, please reach out to any of us in the counseling staff. Mrs. Tippman, you'll see her on your left. She's the coordinator of guidance services, so she takes care of the testing requirements. She does all of our creating and building our master schedule, changing any pieces of the schedule, our GPA, all things like that, scholarships and things. And Mrs. Brown primarily is in charge of grades 11 and 12. And then I will be your school counselor for grades 9 and 10. So if you have any specific questions or would like to make an appointment, you'll primarily be seeing me. Unless I'm out, then you might see one of them. So it's important for you to get to know them as well.
I think district-wide, our counselors are great, and that's no different at the high school. Keeping track of these box 1 and 2 and 3 requirements for 700 students is a big job. And the state has changed what they will accept for box 3 every year. So next year we will have 4 grade levels on 4 different requirements for what they will accept. And our guidance office has been amazing. So I know you still belong to the middle school and you're in 8th grade, but you are West Noble, so you're ours. And if you have a question about next year, even now, that's something about that, you can go ahead and contact us anytime. It's confusing, but they do a great job of tracking that. And a lot of it we worry about when they're juniors and seniors, like that box 2 and box 3, that's down the road. So those classes the freshman year are the main concern. Registration is going to open, I think, on Monday. They're opening it with kindergarten roundup, and I believe that that's going to be Monday. So check the website for that. Also, in Skyward, that Family Access Center under my account, that is very important. We use Skylert School Messenger, and so we need to make sure Skyward continues to be updated with your contact information. You can do that on your own now. So you don't need to call the school if you move or if your phone number changes. You can go in, so the instructions are on there. Nurse Jinx actually came to this last year. She couldn't make it this year, but that's really important for her, that Skyward is updated in case there's an emergency. And please remember, any medications have to have the permit signed that they take at school. And if it's a prescription, it has to be in the original container, and you keep some at home. If you already have dealt with that, it's no different at the high school, but she likes us to remind you of that. At some of our next dates, you'll see our back to school night down there at the bottom on August 9th. She will be here, and you can talk to her if you have medications and concerns. That's a good night to do that. May 4th, 8th graders, this is a tentative date. But you are going to come over here and tour the building. So we give you tours to see. It's really, I know it seems intimidating, it's one big square, so it's not too bad. July 25th, so end of July is when schedules will be available on Skyward. That's the latest date. So if we are able to get them out sooner, we'll send you a Sky Alert that, the schedule with the class period and everything, because that's what they want to see, and see if friends are in their classes, and that's about what time that'll be done. August 4th is the last day for schedule changes. That's very important. So, you have a small window to take a look at that schedule and see, is there something wrong with it? Usually we don't get that with freshmen because you're all kind of taking the same thing. But contact guidance right away if you see a problem with that.